Think you know The Sopranos? You might be in for a shock. Edie Falco's flawless Carmela hair? It was a wig, hiding a devastating secret. Ray Liotta turned down a Sopranos role, and it's a decision he deeply regrets. Joe Pesci? He had the chance to join the show, but his reason for saying no might surprise you. And what if I told you real-life mobsters approach Sopranos actors off-screen? These 21 mind-blowing facts will make you see The Sopranos in a whole new light. Did you know Meadow and Carmela were dealing with more drama off-screen than Tony was at the Bing? Jamie Lynn Sigler, who played Meadow, was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis during Season 3. But here's the twist. She kept it a secret until Season 5, worried HBO might recast her. Imagine trying to navigate that while keeping up with Tony's chaos. The first person she confided in, Edie Falco. And talk about strength. Edie herself was battling breast cancer during Season 5. Remember Carmela's thinner appearance in the wig? Now you know why. Here's the kicker. Jamie revealed the last time she could run was during that iconic final scene at Holston's. Meadow rushing to the door wasn't just great acting. It was her literal last sprint in real life. Crazy, right? Why was Joe Pesci never in The Sopranos? Here's the story. First, Pesci was already semi-retired when Tony and the crew hit HBO, so a long-term TV role wasn't in the cards. Second, David Chase avoided casting big-name mob movie stars. He didn't want The Sopranos feeling like a Goodfellas spinoff. Third, Pesci might have worried about typecasting. He was already the face of classic mob flicks, and stepping into The Sopranos could have locked him in that box for good. Fourth, there's Pesci's explosive screen presence. Imagine him as a soprano. Would Tony even survive that? Pesci's intensity might have stolen the spotlight, and Chase wanted characters with room to grow. Finally, Chase wanted The Sopranos to stand on its own, not ride the coattails of legends like Pesci. So, what do you think? Could Pesci have been a capo or maybe a rival boss? Let me know in the comments, hit like, and subscribe for more Sopranos lore. Did you know Ray Liotta turned down The Sopranos? He was offered a major role in Season 3, but said, no thanks. Here's why. David Chase wanted Ray Liotta to play Ralph Cifaretto, one of the most chaotic and hated characters on The Sopranos. But Liotta passed, saying, I didn't want to do another mafia thing, and I was shooting Hannibal at the time. Fair enough. After Goodfellas, maybe he'd had enough mob drama for a lifetime. Still, imagine Liotta's intensity as Ralph. Would it have been darker, more volatile? We'll never know, but Joe Pantoliano stepped in and made Ralph an all-time Sopranos villain. So, was Liotta right to walk away, or did he miss out on TV history? Did you know the Terminator Burt Young had some intriguing ties to the mob? Let's dive in. Burt Young wasn't just an actor. He was a Marine who boxed his way to 32 wins out of 34 matches. Maybe that's why he fit so perfectly into the gritty, working-class roles he became famous for. But here's where it gets wild. Young loved hanging around actual wise guys so much, he reportedly asked Vic Amuso, a real-life boss of the Lucchese crime family, if he could become a made man. Amuso's response? Stick to acting, kid. And Burt wasn't shy about showing love to the Italian-American community. He once signed a Rocky poster at the iconic La Donna Rosa restaurant. Sopranos fans, you know the type. It's the kind of place where Robert De Niro might sit at the next table, and you don't ask too many questions. Why did David Chase refuse to cast Michael Madsen? The guy nailed it as Sonny Black and Donnie Brasco, so why not give him a spot in the Sopranos crew? David Chase had one hard rule: authenticity above all. On The Sopranos, if you were playing an Italian from Jersey or New York, you had to sound like you belonged there. Michael Madsen? Brilliant actor. But that Chicago accent? Chase couldn't see past it. He talked about it on the Talking Sopranos podcast, saying Madsen just didn't fit the vibe of the family. Now imagine this. Madsen as a mobster from Florida, connected to the outfit. A nod to his Donnie Brasco days, setting up shop in sunny chaos. It could have worked, right? But Chase wasn't about cutting corners. That commitment to detail is what made The Sopranos more than a show. It felt like real life. So, do you think David Chase made the right call? Or did we miss out on something special? Let me know in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe for more Sopranos gold. Why did the Mafia approach the Sopranos stars in real life? Well, when you're playing wise guys on TV, it seems the real wise guys have a few notes. Here are the stories. Steve Sciarreppa, our favorite Bobby, once had a mob guy casually offer him a tutorial on how to, take care of business, while doing his laundry, no less. Steve, proving Bobby's smarts rubbed off on him, politely declined. Then there's Michael Imperioli, Christopher Moltisanti himself. A mobster told him how to strangle someone with piano wire. Michael decided he'd stick to acting. Thanks very much. And James Gandolfini? Oh, this one's a classic. Late one night, he got an anonymous call.
Well, we're anonymous.
They loved his portrayal of Tony Soprano, but had one very specific critique. No Don would ever wear shorts. Because apparently, fashion is serious business in the mob world. What if I told you one of the Sopranos stars grew up with her own mob story? Let's dive into Catherine Narducci's incredible, real-life connection to organized crime. Narducci, who played Charmaine Bucco, didn't just act in the mob world, she lived it. Hailing from East Harlem and raised in an Italian-American household, her father, Nicky Narducci, ran a bar and had connections to organized crime. But when Catherine was just 10, her father was killed in a brutal mob-style hit outside his bar in the mid-70s. Growing up in Italian Harlem, Catherine described feeling oddly protected, saying, "I had like 20 other fathers. I just felt very safe." Only later did she realize these polished father figures weren't exactly law-abiding citizens. We need to talk about Richie's third hand. Yeah, you heard me right. Third hand. In that iconic scene where Janice decides she's done with Richie, something absolutely wild happens. If you watch closely, it looks like Richie magically grows an extra hand between his legs. Paulie Walnuts would have a field day with this one, saying Richie was so shocked he sprouted another hand just to keep earning. But here's the real story. No mutant anatomy here. It's actually a stagehand sneaking into Richie's chair so it doesn't fall back too fast during his big reaction. Still, the idea of Richie earning with 3 hands and it still not being enough for Janice? Classic Sopranos irony. Ever think about how close the Sopranos came to having a very different storyline? You know Jackie Sr., right? The original boss? Well, David Chase almost brought back Michael Rispoli, the actor who played him, as Jackie's twin brother who just got out of prison. Imagine that.
Ew, can you imagine that?
2 Jackies. It's like a twisted, mobbed-up version of The Parent Trap. Chase loved Rispoli so much he seriously considered it, but thankfully, he realized it might be a tad over the top. Instead, we got Richie the Jacket, a completely different kind of crazy. And we all know how that went. All right, Sopranos fans, let's talk about the boss, James Gandolfini. Before filming the final season, Jim dropped an insane $2 million on Cobalt Gold watches for the entire Sopranos cast and crew. But that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to his generosity. Between seasons 3 and 4, Jim was in a heated contract dispute with HBO. He wanted $20 million a season, HBO wanted $10 million, and let's just say, this wasn't going to end with a sit-down and baked ziti. Things got so tense, they almost shut down production. But Jim, he couldn't stand the thought of his crew being out of work. So he took $13 million, still a hefty chunk of change. And here's the best part. Jim gave 16 of his co-stars a $33,000 bonus out of his own pocket, with handwritten notes saying, "Thanks for putting up with me." You know that hilarious scene in Pine Barrens when Bobby walks into Junior's kitchen in that bright orange hunting gear, and Tony absolutely loses it laughing? Well, James Gandolfini's laugh there wasn't just acting. It was 100% real. Here's the story. Before shooting the scene, Jim told Steve Sharipa, "You better make me laugh for real, or this scene won't work." Tony was supposed to be annoyed, right? Getting yanked away from Gloria for some nonsense. So Steve took the challenge seriously. And by seriously, I mean he went full Sopranos. He shows up to set with a giant pink strap-on dildo strapped on under his clothes. No joke. When Bobby walks into the kitchen, Jim sees it for the first time, and that laugh you hear? That's Gandolfini genuinely cracking up. Honestly, only someone like Bobby Bacala could pull that off.
I'd killed before.
Did Paulie Walnuts, Tony, ever whack someone in real life? Well, let's put it this way. The guy wasn't exactly handing out pastries in his early days. Sirico was taken into custody over 20 times. That's more arrests than Paulie had tracksuits. He even did several years in Sing Sing for weapons charges and extortion. Sounds like he'd fit right in with the crew at the Bing, huh? There's an interview where Tony outright admits to having taken a life before. He doesn't go into much detail, but the casual way he mentions it, like he's talking about clipping coupons, is haunting. And then there's another story where he talks about catching a sailor chatting up his girl. What does he do? He beats the guy senseless and throws him off a dock. And here's the kicker. He casually says he doesn't know if the guy made it. Classic Paulie, except this was real life. It just means an extra 6,000 years in purgatory. Some say that people who've taken lives have a certain glow in their eyes. That's not Sirico's words, but someone who's done time in the can swore they saw it in him. Chilling, right? Tony was legit connected to the Colombo crime family in the 60s and 70s, running around Brooklyn's mean streets like a real-life Richie the Jacket. Rumor has it, when the mob asked if he wanted to be a made man, he refused because he wanted to act independently, not be tied down to any one crew. But here's the twist. Later in life, Tony turned things around, swapping real crimes for fake ones on The Sopranos. A little redemption arc, just like Chris, minus the smack. So, did Tony whack anyone? Maybe, maybe not. But he'll always be a legend, on and off screen. Remember Larry Boy from The Sopranos? Turns out the actor behind the mob capo wasn't just playing a tough guy. He had some real-life mob drama of his own. Anthony Borghese, better known by his stage name Tony Darrow, stepped right off the set of The Sopranos and into a Brooklyn courtroom. Back in 2004, Borghese didn't just play a mobster, he teamed up with real Gambino associates for an old-fashioned debt collection. And by old-fashioned, I mean brutal. Here's how it went down. Borghese allegedly met with 2 Gambino enforcers at a diner in Monticello, New York. Over a casual bite, because of course they gotta eat, they planned the job. Borghese then hopped into their car, pointed out the target's house, and left the rest to the pros. The Gambino guys showed up at the poor guy's door and gave him a beating straight out of a Sopranos script. Broken jaw, broken ribs, the works. FBI recordings even caught one of the mobsters bragging, "Tony showed us the house, we did the rest." Sounds like a deleted scene, right? Fast forward to Darrow's court date. He pled guilty to extortion charges and faced up to 20 years behind bars. Lucky for him, he cut a deal and ended up with a shorter sentence. Darrow has since apologized, saying he wants to warn kids that crime doesn't pay. Guess he's pulling a Carmela, trying to set a good example. But let's be real, this isn't the first time a Sopranos actor blurred the lines between fiction and reality. So, what do you think? Did Larry Boy Burries take method acting too far? What's more Paulie Walnuts than getting shot twice in one night and chasing the guys who did it? That's exactly what happened to the Sopranos star Tony Sirico back in his Brooklyn days. Let me tell you, the real Tony was just as wild as the Paulie we all love. Tony Sirico wasn't just playing a tough guy on The Sopranos, he lived it. Before becoming an actor, Sirico had a reputation in Brooklyn that would make Paulie proud. He was arrested 28 times and even spent time in the can. But nothing screams Brooklyn legend like the time he got shot for kissing the wrong girl. Picture this, Tony's on the church steps, with his tongue, as he put it, deep down in her soul, when a car rolls up, and some guys call his name. Before he can react, boom, a bullet hits his leg. But Tony, ever the Paulie, isn't scared. He's pissed. He starts chasing them, bleeding all over his brand new white suit. And then, bang! A second shot hits him in the back. Turns out the girl had a boyfriend, and Tony paid the price. But you know what? Sirico laughed about it later, just like Paulie would, saying he was more mad about ruining his suit than the bullets. Tony Sirico's real life was just as colorful as any Sopranos episode. Why did Ariel Kiley quit acting after playing Tracy in The Sopranos? Here's the story. You remember Tracy, right? The poor girl who worked at the Bing, got on Ralph's bad side, and ended up in one of the show's most shocking moments. Ariel Kiley nailed that role so hard that Hollywood came knocking, big time. After the infamous University episode aired, she was in LA, auditioning for pilots and meeting the likes of Aaron Spelling. But here's the kicker. Ariel walked away from it all. Why? She told Talking Sopranos that the roles coming her way were a joke compared to The Sopranos. She was thrown into the hot chick category, and the quality of projects felt, as she put it, embarrassing. But it wasn't just the roles, it was the industry itself, the energy, the power dynamics. Ariel called it humiliating. So she said, forget about it, and left Hollywood to build a life she could respect. Today, she's a yoga instructor, a writer, and a speaker. Oh, and she did pop up once more, as a yoga teacher in The Affair. So, what do you think? Did Ariel make the right move by leaving the biz? Drop a comment below. Why didn't Martin Scorsese like The Sopranos? According to David Chase, the creator of The Sopranos, Marty once said, I don't get it. It's like all these trees and shit. trees. Can you believe it? The man who directed Goodfellas, a movie with enough blow to fund a small country, took issue with New Jersey's forestry. But here's the thing. Marty grew up in Manhattan's Little Italy, where the mob was all about tight-knit neighborhoods, Catholic guilt, and strictly no backyard barbecues. Meanwhile, Chase wanted to show the mob as he knew it. In suburban Jersey, surrounded by McMansions, strip malls, and a guy like Tony who could talk therapy one minute and whack someone the next. Scorsese also had issues with the way Tony spoke to Meadow at the dinner table, swearing in front of his daughter. Unforgivable, apparently. But this is the same guy who gave us Henry Hill, a mobster who almost burned his family alive while tweaking on coke. So, Marty, maybe the moral high ground isn't the hill to die on here. What it really comes down to is perspective. Marty's mob is all about the old school honor and Catholic redemption. Watch Mean Streets and you'll see what I mean. But The Sopranos? It's about existential dread, suburban disillusionment, and a mob boss who feeds the ducks in his pool. So, do you think Marty had a point, or was he just stuck in the past?
Those who want respect, give respect.
Did you know one Sopranos actor was literally wearing a fat suit to look even bigger until reality caught up with the role? The story behind it is hilarious. Let me break it down. Get this. Shiripa wore a fat suit in the early seasons. He was confused when he first read those weight lines, not thinking he was that big. Then, boom, a call for a fat suit fitting to be bigger than Tony. For 2 seasons, he rocked that padding. But here's the best part. By season 3, Shiripa had, shall we say, fully embraced the role and no longer needed the suit. He even joked that by season 4, he was fat enough on his own.
Before and way before.
What if I told you Tony Soprano was inspired by a real-life mob boss? Vincent Vinny Ocean Palermo, the boss of the DeCavalcante crime family in New Jersey, was the inspiration for Tony Soprano. His crew ran a strip club just like the Bada Bing, and FBI tapes even caught them talking, "Is this show supposed to be us?" They got a pork store and a topless joint in Jersey. But here's the kicker. Palermo's rise to power was straight out of The Sopranos. Remember how a certain muff joke between Tony and Junior led to all-out war? Well, in real life, a scandal involving a bisexual mob boss, John Johnny Boy D'Amato, and swingers clubs sparked a violent coup. While Tony let Junior live, Palermo's crew didn't show the same mercy. So, next time you watch Tony stress over family drama, remember, truth really is stranger than fiction. Ever wonder what Furio would do if someone stiffed him? Well, Federico Castelluccio, the guy who played Furio on The Sopranos, found himself in a real-life mob drama. And let's just say, the lines between fiction and reality got very blurry. Here's the story. Castelluccio invested $50,000 in Joe Pesci's cousin Gino's restaurant. When the business tanked, Federico reportedly felt like he got clipped, especially when Gino started spending big on other projects. The twist? Rumors say Federico turned to a real-life mob boss, Andy Mush Russo of the Colombo family, for help collecting.
Give me $1,000.
But Castelluccio insists Gino Pesci has never owed me money. Anyone saying otherwise is not telling the truth. Still, the plot thickens. Court recordings revealed Russo allegedly talking to one of his captains, saying, Joe Pesci's cousin, he cheated some kid out of 50 grand. This kid, Federico Castelluccio, you know, the guy who played Furio. Russo reportedly promised, I'll get all the information, but the feds swooped in before any plans could unfold. Meanwhile, Gino Pesci brushed off the drama, calling Federico an incredible artist but not a businessman, and claiming he took the loss harder than anyone else. Federico's connection to Russo wasn't just a rumor. He even showed up at Russo's bail hearing back in 2011. But both Federico and Gino deny knowing anything about an extortion plot. Russo's lawyer claims the mob boss wasn't planning anything shady. He was just a Home Alone fan chatting about Joe Pesci's movies. Yeah, sure, because every mob boss casually talks about Home Alone in the middle of a 50-grand dispute. So, what do you think? Did Furio get caught up in a real-life Sopranos episode? Or is this all just an unfortunate coincidence? What if I told you the acting boss of the real Sopranos inspired Vito Spatafore? John D'Amato wasn't just the acting boss of the DeCavalcantes, the real Sopranos. He was also living a double life that would eventually seal his fate. In 1991, rumors about his secret bisexuality started spreading through the family. Anthony Capo, one of his killers, later testified, "Nobody's going to respect us if we have a boss like that sitting down discussing La Cosa Nostra business." But was it just about his private life? Some say his growing closeness to John Gotti and resentment over his promotion to acting boss played a big part. Either way, on January 6, 1992, D'Amato's own men lured him into a car and shot him. When they searched his pockets, they found $8,000 in cash and a card from an FBI agent. D'Amato's body was never recovered. What if I told you a simple agent screw-up almost robbed us of one of AJ Soprano's most memorable girlfriends? Yeah, folks, Blanca Salgado's Sopranos debut almost didn't happen, and it's a wild story. Dania Ramirez, a massive Sopranos fan, was thrilled at the chance to audition for Blanca. But here's the twist. Her agent never told her about the offer. That's right, they pulled a move even Tony wouldn't approve of. Luckily, Ramirez found out through a friend of casting director Sheila Jaffe. Furious, she fired her agent, got the audition, and nailed the role. Originally, Blanca was just a one-episode gig, but she left such an impression that the writers brought her back for 4 more. AJ's whirlwind romance might have ended in flames, but Blanca became a part of Sopranos history, all thanks to Ramirez taking matters into her own hands. Wise guys, lend me your ears. I'm now an Audible associate, which means you get a special deal. Sign up with my link and get a free Audible trial, a whole month to binge your favorite books. Think Donnie Brasco, The Godfather, Wise Guy, Casino. All the classics to get you feeling like Tony before a sit-down. And hey, if it's not for you, forget about it. Cancel anytime, no strings attached. Don't miss this chance to turn your downtime into a story straight out of The Sopranos.